The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Albany County News. I'm Mary Rozak, the Director of Communications for Albany County. And in the next roughly 30 minutes, we're going to talk about something that is, I think, extremely important and has been something that we've heard a lot about and stressed over the last several years. And that's the importance of minority and women-owned businesses. And we have seen, it seems, an explosion of late, certainly right before COVID and right after, of women-owned businesses that have really seemed to blossom. But we're going to talk to a seasoned women-owned business owner right now. I welcome Megan Baker from Baker Public Relations, President and CEO. I'm going to sit up.
It's a pleasure to be here, Mary.
We have known each other for over 20 years. I can't even believe that as we were talking right before we started the program, and it doesn't seem that long, does it?
No, it goes by way too quickly.
And you certainly look not a day older than the day that...
I'm still that age back in 2000.
Wow. You know what? If do the kids believe that? I know that would change since that is, so I should go back. You have been, we met back in our TV days. Mm-hmm. And you are a veteran when it comes to television news, having been an anchor and a reporter, I should say an Emmy-winning news anchor and reporter, who from what was then Capital News 9. Very proud to say that's one of the best parts of my carear was when we were at Capital News 9 and launching what is now known as the Spectrum News Channel. But back then, things are so different. You left a very successful career.
Yeah.
You literally, when I was there one day, said, you know what? I'm not signing another contract. I'm going to go off and do my own thing. And you did. Yeah. And you went off and opened your own business, Baker Public Relations, which is now, congratulations, 15 years
15
old.
years in September.
It just seems like yesterday, again, that I was bringing you a proclamation from the county executive for 10 years. Yeah. How does it go by so fast?
Yeah, Mary, it's been interesting. Back in our TV days, I remember re-signing a 4-year contract, and then just deciding I had one of those moments where I lost the passion, saw the direction the industry was going, and had nothing lined up. Literally left. There was speculation where I was going to end up, but at the end of the day, went into public relations, which is a natural transition for people in TV news.
Yeah.
And spent a year at one of the largest agencies at that time in the market, and then opened Baker PR in 2007. So here we are. It's been a remarkable journey.
It certainly has, and I know in that time, both personally and professionally, because you've added to a family,
yes.
You have a number of children.
5. Yes.
And it's hard to believe. I know your youngest, too, just turned teenagers,
and I'm in for it. They are giving me a run for my money, but I wouldn't have it any other way. It's nice to have an extended family. I have 2 beautiful stepdaughters. One just graduated college, one's in college. My son's at CBA, he's a freshman, and then the twins, as you mentioned.
Wow. It's just, how, I know, fast forward, everything has just changed so dramatically for you, but it had to be a little bit scary. I know.
Yes.
I want to talk about that, because I think that when we talk about businesses and we talk about women-owned businesses, there's always, or it seems to be, a common theme, and that's what we're going to be talking about over the next several shows. It seems to be a common theme. There's an epiphany of sorts, and there is either a passion that's identified or a loss of passion that leads to something else. Tell me about the days and weeks that between that transition and what you were looking at, what you were looking for.
Yeah, so during that transition time, I was actually planning a wedding. So it gave me some time to just breathe, take a step back, really decide what was important to me. I was walking into a marriage, with 2 kids. So that in itself was exciting to me. A little nerve-wracking.
Well, I bet because they're number one.
Right.
They're someone else's children.
Right.
They are not infants.
Right. So being a stepmother, there are a lot of things associated with that in itself that can be challenging, but so gratifying too, especially when I walked into their lives, when they were so young. They were 3 and 4 roughly, and then watching them grow. So yes, it was really a risk that you take not having something lined up, but I always had this entrepreneurial, independent spirit. And I really didn't recognize it until I was able to step away from my job in television news, a 10-year career, and decide again, what direction do I want to go in? And it still wasn't clear until I took a role at a PR agency in Albany, and a couple of things happened. Got pregnant with my first child after we got married, and so that kind of changed things internally for me, knowing that I was going to be a new mom. And then the CEO had passed away of a heart attack. And so that, to me, working alongside someone, realizing that life is so short.
Sure.
And I was in my 30s at this point. So it really opened my eyes to say, okay, I went back after maternity leave, saw that the agency had hired a consultant, knew that they were likely going to sell the agency. And I thought, okay, with the contacts I have in the business community, media landscape locally, and the brand that I built as a TV news anchor, I'm going to do this. I can open my own agency. So that set the wheels in motion, and my son was 6-7 months old when Baker PR launched.
Now, tell me, did you launch? For all of those folks who may not know, was this in your home office? Was this the full-fledged? And I know the answer to this question, so you're not going to be able to fool me. Talk about how you took those first steps.
Yeah, so really putting together a business plan, figuring out, okay, what's missing. There are other agencies in the market, creating that band, which Baker, there was at least some people knew that name and who it was, just from television news. So I used my last name from the TV career to really help me build the brand, the Baker brand. So we started with the logo development, started with a website. I did open an office on Madison Avenue, just down from the College of St. Rose, and really invested back into the business for the first 5 years. So it's a little scary, not collecting a salary, putting the money back into the business to grow it, and really having to pound the pavement. You have to have that determination, that drive, the confidence to be able to knock on the door, because that's what I did. And that first client was Fusion Day Spa. It was in Slingerlands.
Okay.
So that was our very first client. And then I quickly took on a nonprofit client, the Jonathan Carey Foundation, as they started planning their very first walk, because I felt it was so important to give back in the community. And that's really what the foundation of Baker Public Relations is being able to do good in the community and give back, and then build a business on top of it.
It's very difficult. I know that a lot of people may think about starting a business, and a lot of women, and it can be very scary because of everything you talked about. Now, you were balancing,
a newborn.
Yeah. You were balancing 2 other children, a household, and now a business, really pounding the pavement. How did you achieve that balance, especially in the early years?
Yeah, there were a lot of sleepless nights, I'm not going to lie, but you have to have true grit. to get through it. There were nights I could remember up, breastfeeding my son at the time and working on a press release to all hours of the night. You just make it work. You make it happen. If you really have the determination, the fire inside, you can do it. Are you going to have setbacks? Absolutely. And there have been some. There are times where you second guess yourself. But it's also leaning on a good support system that helps get you through it. And for that, it was close friends, mentors. My mom, was such an inspiration for me, and my grandmother. So having very strong women in my circle helped me remarkably.
Strong is almost an understatement. They certainly are far from wallflowers, and I think that's probably where
Yes.
I'm going to say that you get that real determination. I'm going to say at the same time, as you were doing this, your business was growing, and you've moved a couple of times into
Yes.
where you are now, and the business itself has grown. So let's talk about how that happened. Saying reinvestment is one thing. What does that really mean?
It's investing in people. Everyone says you're only as good as your people, and I believe that 110%. Investing in your team, in your people around you to help make some of those tough decisions, and I've been able to do that. So the first 5 years on Madison Avenue, then we moved to 104 Everett Road in the town of Colonie, and then we're coming up on 5 years in Loudon Plaza,
Right.
Off of Northern Boulevard. So when I look at our growth, really, since we hit that 10-year mark, and for me, what happened, a few things clicked, was my kids becoming a little bit more self-sufficient. So I was able to say, okay, I can put a little bit more time, because I always prioritize, and if you ask any of my staff members, I prioritize family first. Family comes first, and I want the same for all of my team members. So family, and then the work, comes second. So growing the agency, continuing to build the brand, investing in my people, investing in resources, focusing on the work that we do and the reputation that we have in the community. So, we look to align ourselves and work with clients and businesses, companies, nonprofits in the community who are truly doing good and are also aligning with our foundation of wanting to give back to the community. So I'm so proud of the team, and just grateful.
You have grown. There are so many. How many people do you
So
have
we're
on your
at
team?
13 right now. We opened an office in Pittsburgh, which is where I grew up.
And that's what we were going to transition to talk.
Yeah,
talk
back in
about
2019. So, go and being in one market and growing it is one thing, and then growing an office in a second location when you can't be there 24/7 is another challenge.
All right, we're going to talk about that. I just want to remind everyone we're talking with Megan Baker from Baker Public Relations, and woman-owned business, 15 years strong. And let us talk about that. In 2019, you love Pittsburgh.
Love it.
You always have.
It's in my blood.
It's in your blood. That's you're from right outside of Pittsburgh itself. So you decide that you're going to open another office. That would make sense, except how do you open the office when you're here?
Right.
Tell me what that's like.
Utilizing the contacts that I've had all of these years. So going back to when I was in high school, graduated from Butler High School right outside of Pittsburgh. I graduated college from Indiana University of Pennsylvania, which is about an hour and 10 minutes outside of Pittsburgh. So I used some of those contacts that I still had, and I also interned at WTAE, an ABC affiliate, in TV news. So people in Pittsburgh don't leave the TV business. They're there for a very long time, especially when it's, a 20-plus market. So I was able to go back and talk to everybody, just network. That's what I'm good at. I'm great at the business development. I'm great at networking and utilizing those contacts that I have. So that's really what I did. And then I decided, okay, I want to keep our overhead very low. So we open in co-work space.
Okay.
So I went and researched the area, found that healthcare, tech is growing. big in Pittsburgh, especially autonomous driving. You would never know that it's a test bed. They're actually testing 18-wheelers right now, autonomous driving.
Okay, I got to tell you, I'm really scared at that. Really scared. Okay.
Yes. So there's a lot happening with healthcare, with technology. Facebook invested in an office in the Strip District of Pittsburgh. You have financial industry. Energy is really big too. So we saw an opportunity in the hospitality, food and beverage, because out of the research that we had done prior to entering into the Pittsburgh market, we saw from a marketing and PR standpoint that those industries weren't being served. So we went in full throttle. And that was the end of 2019 in December.
Right
As
before
we
COVID.
know, the pandemic hit. So all of those clients that we had in the pipeline in hospitality, food and beverage went away.
Okay.
Those were two of the industries hardest hit. So we had to shift our focus. So 2020 was basically dead, with the exception of some work we did with an energy client, with a law firm, nonprofit. And then we refocused for 2021. So our first full year, real year out of the pandemic in 2021, we were able to turn a small profit.
Okay.
And I was hoping just to break even. So it's really a lot of legwork. It's a lot of reaching out to contacts, virtual meetings.
Do you have anyone boots on the ground?
We do.
Or you're talking
Yeah,
about
we have boots
co-working?
on the ground. We just hired a second person who starts with us in the beginning of June, and then we're looking to hire a senior person that's going to be a more sales role for Pittsburgh. So we'll have 2 people there full-time, hopefully within the next 30 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so now there probably are a few more sleepless nights again.
More sleepless nights. It's, I'm always up for the challenge, though, especially because it's my hometown. It's very near and dear to me. So it's, we're going to put it all in and keeping a focus on the capital region. And then the plan potentially is to open a final and third location in St. Petersburg, Tampa area.
Wow.
So that's what we're eyeing next.
Wow.
But Pittsburgh has to be successful first.
Sure. And so how long are you giving that, before you say, okay, I'm successful there and I'll open the third office?
It could happen sooner, but probably looking at the first or second quarter of 2023.
Wow.
So we're already putting feelers out, already have conducted some market research there, and taking some steps to see, do we acquire an agency or a sole proprietor in Tampa or St. Pete's that's already established, or do we hire someone, to really pound the pavement and bring in some business? And then we'll probably do something similar where we set up shop initially at a co-work space and then decide to really, invest.
The co-work space, you hear from so many people that really is an advantage because you don't have to lay out.
Exactly, a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's great for networking because you're with other businesses that you can introduce yourself to and start the relationship.
So let's talk about, for those people that aren't familiar, when you hear Baker Public Relations, Baker PR, a lot of times people think public relations, it's press releases.
Right, publicity.
Yeah, publicity. But it is so much more. Why don't you talk about the various things, because you have people that are working in various departments that have different titles to really focus on their strengths.
We're storytellers at the end of the day, and that's why it's such a natural progression from TV news. Once you have that passion to connect with people, to share stories, to have their message be heard, and then just to help them meet their overall business objectives. So public relations really has grown and evolved. We truly take an integrated approach. So it's no longer putting a press release out there and pitching the media. we are creating a lot of content on behalf of our clients. So whether that's podcasts, blogs, newsletter, social media content, video, we invested and have been investing for quite some time in our video capabilities. And at the end of 2020, beginning of 2021, we built out an additional 1,000 square feet for video production specifically.
Oh, where you are now.
Where we're at now. So
Oh,
we have
wow.
a creative services studio that we will rent out if need be. But we have, the lights, the video technology. We've invested heavily in our editing equipment. So it's a nice studio where someone can come in for video production, or we can go off-site. That just depends on what the needs are. So we see that we've really increased our scope of work with our existing clients, and then we're getting contacted left and right to produce additional video content for other agencies that we likely wouldn't have worked with.
So that's what I was going to ask you too. I mean, you're talking about other agencies, but is there a company ever that is too small, certainly not too big, but too small that they might say, I have one specific need or one, and it sounds like you can handle that.
We
if they
can.
need some help, let's say, with some social media, and that's really it.
Yeah.
Or so they think,
Right.
right? Until then they get more involved and understand.
Right, and media relations, while it is our bread and butter, because as you know, we have 5 of us that are former news personalities or producers that are now on the team. So we provide that insight into what the media is looking for as far as what type of story, and then how do we craft that message and continue it well beyond the media piece of it. So that's been interesting of itself. And then the crisis communication side of it. For organizations that are looking to create a crisis communications plan or are looking for training, we're assisting them with that too. So, and strategic planning. So we're really a full service woman-owned agency.
So 15 years later, you're drawing a salary.
Yes. Yes. I still invest heavily in the company though, and I think that is so important to never lose sight of that. I'm always looking to grow the team, always looking to develop them professionally and personally, and investing in them through professional development. And then of course the resources that we need to do our jobs better.
Were there, when you started out, were there avenues to pursue? I know you said you reached out to through networking and to some mentors. Were there avenues through the state or through maybe privately to give you any seed funding or any grants or anything like that along the way, any financial help along the way?
Mary, I never looked into that. I know it's something that does exist, and I've had conversations. Fortunately, I utilized what I had, little savings, to get Baker PR off the ground. So I'm very proud to say that, but I'm also happy that the state offers it, that there are grants there for women and minority-owned businesses.
Right, and you are certified.
And we are certified, and we do have a number of state contracts that I'm grateful for because we are a certified woman-owned business, that those are long-term contracts that we can count on for budgeting, the 3 and 5 years. So while it was a lot of work to become certified through New York State,
What did you go through?
it's quite the process. A lot of paperwork. A lot of people, unfortunately, aren't forthcoming and might say that they're a woman-owned business, but they're just basically checking that box. So they want to come into the office, make sure that you truly are a woman-owned business. I believe it has to be 51% woman-owned. We are 100%. It's me solely. So they come in, and then there were check marks where every 3 years you had to go through a recertification. That has since changed. It's great that the Governor Hochul is enforcing that, okay, we need to help the women-owned and the minority-owned businesses, and let's not make this too tedious for them. So instead of 3 years, let's do it every 5 years. So we're making progress, definitely making progress, but it's still a challenge, and I would love to see more minority and women-owned businesses. And as you mentioned in the introduction, that we have seen an uptick and businesses out there, because people are realizing it's time to switch gears and do something different, understanding that maybe family is important to them and they want to spend more quality time and not be working, 14 hours a day.
Sure. I think COVID, the pandemic, changed everything.
It did. It absolutely did.
People lost jobs. People were finding themselves at home working at jobs that they maybe did not find fulfilling. The pandemic, how did that change what you all did? I know because you talk about Pittsburgh,
right,
and how that was impacted there. How did that change what happened here at Baker PR in the Capital Region?
Great question, Mary. Fortunately for us, before the pandemic, just right before, I'm talking maybe 2-3 months, we invested in cloud technology.
Okay.
So we invested in Microsoft Teams. Who knew we were going to need it? So by investing back into the business, we did not skip a beat. In fact, 2020, with the exception of last year, was our best year in the history of the business.
Wow.
We also gave back more to the nonprofits and some of the food and beverage clients by donating our services pro bono, because they were hardest hit. They couldn't have their fundraisers. So we were helping them with virtual events and roundtable discussions that we were actually hosting just as an educational component to other businesses out there. So we have a stellar team. We all felt connected. We were also offering, because I knew from a mental health standpoint, that everybody was feeling it. There was that fear. I know I had anxiety for the first month or two of the unknown of, what's going to happen. And we're all at home, but we all felt very close, even though we weren't together, if that makes sense. So also recognizing that the team didn't know when to start or stop, because we were jumping in at 6 o'clock in the morning, and by the time we're still sitting there working until 7-8 o'clock at night. So finally, I had to say to the team, look, this is no different than we have to cut our time so that we're not sitting here around the clock.
Right.
It's not good for us mentally.
No.
And our mental health. And then at that point too, we looked at we were always doing some form of yoga meditation that I was offering pre-pandemic. We started that virtually every Friday for the entire team, and then we opened it up to clients and some of our community partners. So we would pay to have somebody come on, help us with meditation, help clear our minds, and it's something that we still continue today.
Wow.
So the pandemic really changed, and then now as an employer trying to hire in this workforce, it is a huge challenge. I was just sharing with the team today during our staff meeting that in the past month, I've had 3 no-shows for interviews, and that's startling.
Yeah, you generally would not hear about that, and now
you wouldn't hear about it. So, and now it's happening. So it's been a challenge.
Well, what I'm going to do, Megan, is give out the website so people know how to get in touch with you. I certainly wish you the best of luck. Can't wait to actually celebrate the official 15 in September.
We're planning it.
And can't wait to hear about the 3rd opening.
Yes.
And I know we will be sooner than we think. So thank you.
Thank you, Mary.
Megan Baker from Baker Public Relations. If you want to find out more about how Baker Public Relations, Baker PR may be the place for you, either to work or to have work done, go to www.bakerpublicrelations.com. I'm Mary Rozak. This has been Albany County News. We'll see you again soon.